Welcome back everyone, Oz here. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And today we'll be exploring r/AskReddit. What's the stupidest thing you've heard a person say aloud in public? I don't need to get vaccinated, my dad's a chiropractor. I hope he can massage the fucking measles out of your bones, you nut. She also thought that dinosaur bones were planted there. A customer at a restaurant, after asking for a vegan menu and staring at it for 10 minutes, asking, "Why don't you have any chicken dishes on the menu?" followed up with, "What animal is a ham? How are these people making it through life?" I used to run the shipping department at a company, and an employee was waiting to package a large order because we were out of the large boxes. The box company eventually shows up and wheels 6 pallets of boxes, roughly 5 feet tall each, directly on the other side of the worker's table. Literally 4 feet in front of his face. About 30 minutes later, when I ask why he hasn't done the big order yet, he says, "I'm still waiting on those boxes to show up." I grew up on a cattle farm. A woman, about 15 years older than me, I was 16, asked me, "After you cut off the meat from the cow, how long until it grows back so you can cut more?" I wish so badly she was f***ing with me. She was not. Now that's sustainable farming. I'm an ER nurse, so I ask a lot about medical history and current meds. What medical problems do you have? None. Do you take any prescription or over-the-counter meds on a daily basis? Yes, my blood pressure pill and Lasix. So you have high blood pressure and heart failure? No, I don't. So what are the medications for? My blood pressure and heart failure, duh. I was in a briefing about sexual assault prevention, Air Force Group. The 06 asked us if a female subordinate came to you with allegations of sexual assault or harassment in the workplace, what would you do? Staff Sergeant with 0 fucks to give raised his hand and when called on said, "Sir, I gotta be honest, I wouldn't believe her." The whole room went silent and we watched the 06 burn a hole through this guy with his eyes. The 06 then said, "That is the worst possible answer you could have given me. People." A moon's distance from the Earth is less than 100 kilometers. When corrected, he just said, "Well, then it's probably 110 kilometers. If the moon was teleported to 110 kilometers away, we ought to prepare for Armageddon. At that point, even if the moon was still somehow holding its orbit, the moon would be far over its Roche limit. The distance from a planet a moon has to be to hold its shape. Past the Roche limit, the moon's gravity holding itself together would be overpowered by the gravity of the Earth, and it would start raining moon. I went to college in a small town, and every Thursday they would have a mobile DMV. When I had to get my license renewed, they were having trouble with the internet. The woman in charge instructed the other woman working there to shake out all the wires because sometimes the information gets clogged up in them. Shortly after 9/11, my wife and I were in the UK. On the way home, the customs officer at the airport was dead serious. "Are you a US citizen?" "Yes." "It says here you were born in New Mexico. So when did you become a US citizen?" "At birth. New Mexico is in the US. "No, it isn't. It's in Mexico. That's why it has Mexico in the name." Not me, but my dad has heard. I set out all these bird feeders and bird baths, but not one bird comes to my yard. I bet it's all those pesticides that crop duster is laying down in the field. Local school board member as they were standing in their 5-acre yard with 20 or more cats running around. Coworker at my old job while we were sitting up for Black Friday. It's pretty crazy that Black Friday actually falls on a Friday this year. Does an egg get boiled before or after it comes out of the chicken? Obviously before, right? Yeah, I hate having to deboil my eggs when I buy them fresh. And then later you have to reboil them. Such a hassle. I was in line at KFC when the guy in front asked how many pieces of chicken are in a 15-piece bucket. Honorable mention when I heard, how much does a $20 fill-up bucket cost? My friend who was a senior in high school thought senior discounts would apply to him. It led to an incredibly awkward back and forth between a Taco Bell worker. My friend's dad was a photographer who did a lot of events and people. Up until 6th grade, I thought senior pictures were old people dressing up to have their picture taken. You have to fight an exact copy of yourself to the death. How do you outsmart yourself? Distract that fat bitch with a cake. Give him alcohol. I'm pretty dumb, so outsmarting myself should be easy. If he's anything like me, he won't like getting kicked in the balls. Decide to stop fighting and compete to outlive one another. We both end up eating healthier, exercising, and finding more joy in our lives in hopes of living longer than the other. Eventually forgetting about the fight to the death part. And then I hit her with a claw hammer. What's a joke that's so stupid it's funny? Knock knock. Who's there? Quiet horse. Quiet horse who? Nay. Why do seagulls fly over the sea? Because if they flew over the bay, they'd be bagels. Yeah. What's the best thing about Switzerland? Well, the flag's a big plus. To be frank, I'd have to change my name. Statistically, 6 out of 7 dwarves are not happy. I bought the world's worst thesaurus today. Not only was it terrible, but it was also terrible. The Lepers hockey game was canceled due to a face-off in the corner. Well, that's pretty messed up. There are no divorce courts at the North Pole, so when Santa and his wife want to split up, they got a semicolon. They're great for separating independent clauses. 2 pretzels were walking down a back alley. One was assaulted. 2 hunters are out in the woods when one of them collapses. He doesn't seem to be breathing and his eyes are glazed. The other guy whips out his phone and calls the emergency services. He gasps, "My friend is dead, what can I do?" The operator says, "Calm down, I can help. First, let's make sure he's dead." There is a silence. Then a shot is heard. Back on the phone, the guy says, "Okay, what now?" I used to be good at telling jokes, but now I just punch up the fuck line. Why the old man fell down the well? Because he couldn't see that well. A blondie and a lawyer are seated next to each other on a flight from Los Angeles to New York. The lawyer asks if she would like to play a fun game. The blondie, tired, just wants to take a nap, so she politely declines, and rolls over to the window to catch a few winks. The lawyer persists and explains that the game is easy and a lot of fun. He asks, "I ask you a question, and if you don't know the answer, you pay me $5, and vice versa." Again, she declines and tries to get some sleep. The lawyer, now agitated, says, "Okay, if you don't know the answer, you pay me $5, and if I don't know the answer, I will pay you $500. This catches the blondie's attention and, figuring there will be no end to this torment, agrees to the game. The lawyer asks the first question, "What's the distance from the Earth to the Moon?" The blondie doesn't say a word, reaches into her purse, and pulls out a $5 bill, and hands it to the lawyer. "Okay," says the lawyer, "your turn." She asks, "What goes up a hill with 3 legs and comes down with 4 legs?" The lawyer, puzzled, takes out his laptop computer and searches all his references. No answer. He taps into the airphone with his modem and searches the internet in the Library of Congress. No answer. Frustrated, he sends emails to all his friends and coworkers, but to no avail. After an hour, he wakes the blonde and hands her $500. The blonde thanks him and turns back to get some sleep. The lawyer, who is more than a little miffed, stirs the blonde and asks, "Well, what's the answer?" Without a word, the blonde reaches into her purse, hands the lawyer $5, and goes back to sleep. I saw a nice stereo on Craigslist for $1. Seller says the volume is stuck on high. I couldn't turn it down. I have many jokes about unemployed people. Sadly, none of them work. What do you get when you cross a joke with a rhetorical question? Stared at. What did one nut say when it was chasing the other nut? "I'm a cashew." What do you call a magic dog? A labracadabrador. A priest, a pastor, and a rabbi walk into a bar. The bartender says, "What is this, some kind of joke?" Two cows are standing in a field. The first cow says to the second, "Have you heard about this mad cow disease? Makes cows go crazy and then they die." The second cow replies, "Good thing I'm a helicopter." A Mexican magician told his audience he was going to vanish on the count of 3. He counted, uno, dos, and disappeared without a trace. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.